So today we're going to have a look at the 7 great world powers in the world of Mushoku Tensei. So basically, the 7 great powers refers to the 7 strongest warriors in the world. They are a selection of 7 people that came to exist following the end of the Second Human-Demon War. The title of the 7 great powers was well known until the Laplace War. All original 7 powers participated in the Laplace War, with the exception of Technique God. Among them, 3 were killed, 1 went missing, and another was sealed away. The Dragon God was the only one who came out of the war with a definite living status. Even though the 7 power holders are said to be the absolute strongest in the world, there is a further division within the group. The first 4 ranks are referred to as the upper ranks, and the remaining 3 ranks are referred to as the lower ranks. And there is a very large difference in strength between the 4th rank Demon God and the 5th rank Death God. So let's discuss few important about each one of the 7 great powers. So on number 7 we have Alexander Rybak, who is the current North God of North God style. Alexander is a determined person, and due to the way he was raised, he is obsessed with becoming a hero and surpassing his father. So in order to achieve such a goal, he did everything in his power to gain fame among the public. Initially, he worked as one of Geese' associates in order to destroy the Supered tribe and kill Orsted, with the objective of achieving the title of hero. However, he cared very little about the circumstances of the Supered or Hitagami scheme, and was only interested in the fame that came with the hero title. But Rudeus and company were able to defeat him after an intense battle, and he was considered dead for a while. However, as he is a descendant of Atofe, it was only a matter of time until his body regenerated. Later, he was also defeated by Orsted after a very one-sided battle that lasted only 10 minutes, and in that battle, he ended up losing both arms. And later, he subsequently ended up becoming another subordinate of Orsted and a member of the Orsted Corporation. In Orsted's knowledge of the original history, Alec fell into despair after losing to Gino Britz, and took a single child as his disciple who was in no way talented. But by watching him grow and correcting himself, he matured to be a true North God. And later, in the Second Laplace Wars, Alec proved himself to be history's strongest North God. Moving on from him, we have the Sword God Galfarian at number 6. He trained earnestly and made no compromises to become a sword god. He claims to have become strong using rational methods that he also teaches to his students. He was considered to be the fastest of his generation, as not even water god Rita could withstand his attacks. In the past, when he was a sword saint, he challenged Orsted to a battle. Naturally, he lost the battle, but he survived with his 4 limbs intact. Then, he decided to train himself from scratch, and managed to achieve the title of sword god. Later, on his journey to the Great Forest, he met Ghislaine de Doldia, and trained her in the sword god style, wherein afterward, she attained the rank of sword king, and he gifted her a sword as proof of her mastery in sword god style. Later, when Eris arrives at the Holy Land of Swords and defeats Gino and Nina, Gal took an interest in her potential in the sword and agrees to train her as his student to defeat Orsted, a dream that they both share. Then the news of Badagadi attacking Renoa Magic Academy also reaches Gal, who is looking forward to fighting the Demon Lord, but he lost interest when Nina told him that Rudeus has already defeated him. When Eris fought Auber, Gal was watching the fight for some time and called them out to stop before the two killed each other. Auber greets Gal, confirming he received his letter and has never met such a swordsman as Eris, who was like a beast. Auber then realizes that she is the mad dog that Gal mentioned. That evening, Ghislaine questions Gal's training for Eris. Gal knows Ghislaine will not understand even if you carefully spell it out from A to Z for her. So he explains that Orsted is an existence beyond rationality, while recalling his own battle against Orsted when he was a sword saint, where he was left alive and without a limb missing by Orsted. Ghislaine still doesn't understand. So Gal explains why he brought Auber for Eris's North God style training, and his plan to also bring a Water God style teacher in the future, so Eris can cope with the techniques of each school that Orsted also uses while fighting. As someone possessing God rank, he was considered the strongest in the Sword God style, until Gino Britz defeated him. He possesses an extremely fast sword arm, and was acknowledged by the Water God Rita as the only man whose sword she could not stop. His speed is second only to Gino Britz, and he knows various techniques of the Sword God style and Water God style and is adept at using them. But he is hinted to be emotionally blind, as he was incapable of understanding Gino Britz's and Eris's strength over him. Gino defeated him only to ask for his permission to marry his daughter, and Eris drew her strength from the desire to protect Rudeus, who is her dearest. But Galfarian strongly believes that a person is strong simply because they trained on top of having talent. After him on number 5, we have the Death God Randolph Marianne. So Randolph used to be battle-thirsty, but after countless battles he got fed up. So he retired from fighting, and now he enjoys cooking despite not being good at it. He walks around yawning without a care, even in times of turmoil. Generally, he's a pacifist, but Randolph does not mind killing anyone he's ordered to or in self-defense. So after retiring, he returned to his home country and started working as a chef and restaurant owner. But soon the restaurant became bankrupt, leaving him with a huge debt. So not having any option, he then started working in the Dragon King Kingdom as a knight to pay off the debt. So Randolph was originally Dragon King Kingdom's knight, but he was ordered to escort Pax in his coup, where he easily overpowered Shironi's nation's imperial knights. He served as Pax's personal bodyguard since then, and he was present during Zenoba's return, but had no interest in him. When Zenoba and Rudy came back from the front line, he had a fight with them due to being mistaken for an apostle of Hitogami. Later, it's revealed that he only attempted to help Pax out of personal interest, as Pax and his queen were the only two people to praise his cooking. After Pax's suicide, Randolph carried Queen Benedict out of the siege, resolving to teach Pax's sons skills in the swords and in cutlery. In terms of skills, Randolph is extremely talented. His unique skill is called Sword of Bewitching. It is a style of swordsmanship that tricks the opponent and creates openings in combat. It consists of two different sets of techniques known as the Sword of Luring, a technique that entices an enemy into attacking when they should be defending, and the Sword of Hesitation, a technique that entices an enemy into defending or retreating when they should be attacking. He's also trained in the North God style to at least Emperor rank, and was skilled enough to be a candidate for the North God rank. With this, he also has a demon eye that lets him create an impenetrable barrier around a location with minor loopholes. After him, on number 4, we have Demon God Laplis. So Laplis is known as the Demon God, a title given to the strongest demon, who waged war against humanity 500 years ago, before being sealed by the 7 great heroes. In reality, there are actually 2 Laplaces, Demon God Laplis and Technique God Laplis, and both were originally one entity, but ended up splitting into 2 while fighting the Fighting God. Before he was split into 2 beings, Laplis was considered the most powerful entity in the world. As one of the 5 dragon generals, he had enormous physical strength, night vision, and a demon eye that allowed him to track and sense enemies. But after he was split into 2, his powers and personality also split into 2 parts. So the Technique God Laplis has the dragon power, and knows many techniques in the world to overthrow Hitogami. He also created the 7 major world power system and ranked himself first. But he lost some part of his memories, leading him to only remember that his objective is to overthrow Hitogami by teaching those who call themselves Dragon God all of his techniques. He also lost all of his magic power, making him unable to use magic. On the other hand, his other half, Demon God Laplis, has enormous magic power and is a master of all magic. He led the demon race to exterminate humans 400 years ago and ranked 4th in the 7 major world power system. But he lost some part of his memories as well, leading him to only remember his objective is to kill humans by leading the demon race in his military campaign. And he lost all of his dragon power, making him unable to use battle aura. Although he could not use battle aura, he was still so strong that he killed 4 of the 7 heroes that led humanity in the Laplace War, and the remaining 3 were unable to kill him even with the help of Ruyard Superdia, who could see his weak point with his 3rd eye, so they had to seal him in order to end the war. So moving on to number 3, we have the Fighting God Badigadi. So 4,200 years ago, he became the Fighting God, who's at the 3rd rank of the 7 major world powers, by wearing the Fighting God armor to protect his fiancée by the suggestion of Hitogami. Basically, Badigadi is a very old person, dating back to before the Laplace War, and this makes him one of the oldest people in the series. So, in order to protect Kishirika, Badigadi was tricked by Hitogami into stealing the golden armor and becoming the Fighting God, who fought and split 2nd-generation Dragon God Laplace into the Demon God and Technique God. So without the Fighting God armor, Badigadi is a very strong immortal demon lord, but he is much weaker compared to when he is wearing the Fighting God armor. So basically it's the armor that makes him the Fighting God, and not just his innate powers and abilities. So moving on from him, we have the Dragon God Orsted on the 2nd rank. So Orsted was born roughly 10,000 to 20,000 years ago in the Dragon World in the city of Chaos, from the union between his father, the first Dragon God, and his mother Lunaria, a human woman who is the daughter of the human god. However, at the time of his birth, his father had still not decided on a name for him yet, despite his wife's urgings to give him one. In this era, there were 6 worlds each home to a different race and ruled by a god: the human world, dragon world, demon world, Beast World, Ocean World, and Sky World. However, at some point, Orsted's mother ended up being killed under mysterious circumstances. The human god, Hitogami, claimed that the other gods had conspired against the dragon god, resulting in his wife's death. But in reality, it was Hitogami who was responsible for killing her. Soon, Dragon God started a war and killed all the gods from all different worlds. But eventually, he found out that he was fooled by Hitogami. So in the end, the first dragon god was left mortally wounded after fighting many battles, whilst the surviving dragons departed for the human world. Before going to the human world to fight Hitogami, the dragon god uses his power to imbue a god gem into his son, and then sends him 10,000 years into the future with a mission to kill Hitogami, also giving him the power to stay hidden from Hitogami. He also gives Laplace the mission to study Hitogami and develop techniques to pass on to his son when he is born in the future. Before sending his son to the future, he finally gives him a name, Orsted, and then departs to fight Hitogami. So when Orsted was born in the future, he easily managed to take second place in the 7 great world powers, and he is technically believed to be the strongest among the 7 great powers, because Technique God Laplace went missing, and no one knows if he was killed or whether he is hiding. So Technique God Laplace is the holder of the first position. But since he is missing, Orsted can be considered the strongest among the 7 great world powers. But this is not the end, because many positions were changed and some new characters replaced the old ones in the 7 great world powers. So let's start with Sigart Saladin Greyrat, who is the son of Rudeus and Sylphie, and he became the successor of Randolph Marianne, the death god, who was ranked 5th among the 7 great world powers. As Sigart grew up, he admired the superheroes in the stories told by his father, and tried to become one himself. He has a strong sense of justice, and moonlights at night in disguise to perform heroic deeds. He is very much like his father, and struggles with his own purpose in life during his adolescence as he is unemployed. He also has a habit of shouting out his name before fighting his enemies, something the North god, his master, also does. He is extremely strong and skilled, and as a descendant of Rudeus Greyrat, a reincarnated person whose soul originates from another world, Sigart is immune to the effects of the curse placed on Orsted that induces hatred towards the dragon god in all beings that originate from this world. He is also immune to Hitogami's ability to cause people to have automatic trust in him. Next, we have Gino Britz, who became the sword god after defeating the current sword god Galfarian. So Gino Britz was born into a couple that practiced sword god style, and he has been raised in the Holy Land of Swords. His family is a branch family of the sword god style, as his mother was the younger sister of sword god Galfarian. He was considered a prodigy by his fellow practitioners, and attained the title of Sword Saint at the tender age of 12. He, like almost every other sword god style practitioner in the Holy Land of Swords, respects the sword god Galfarian very much. But in order to marry Nina Farian, the daughter of Galfarian, he fought and defeated Galfarian, and also became the next sword god. After him, we have our boy Rudeus Greyrat. So Rudeus fought and defeated Kalman III, who was ranked 7th, and as a result of defeating him, Rudeus got his position in the 7 great world powers. So guys, that's all for this video, and if you guys enjoyed it, then make sure to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.